Zos Chukas HaTorah Asher Tziva Hashem Leimor Daber El Bnei Yisrael Va'ikhu Elecha Paraduma. This is the Chayk, the law of the Torah, which Hashem commanded to speak to the people, to take a red heifer, Asher Ein Ba Mum, which does not have a blemish, Shel Al, which hasn't had a burden. This is what we do, right? This is what we do when a person dies and someone comes in contact with him and needs to become purified. You just mentioned you were at a funeral today.
Does that work for the or no?
Yeah, makes everyone. Hello. Pastrami.
I understand though the person who prepares the red heifer
hello.
cannot...
Right, he becomes impure.
Permanently.
The Kohen's not allowed to become impure on purpose unless it's for a very close relative, like a spouse or a sibling or a parent. Besides that, he can't become impure. But if it happens, and to become pure from coming in contact with the dead body, you have to do the para aduma. You have to have the red heifer. So, why specifically the red heifer purifies from death? So this is the classic chok in the Torah. This is something that we don't know the depths of the reason for. We really don't know. This is certain things in the Torah we understand, certain things we don't understand. And Hashem gave us certain things we don't understand. We follow Hashem's will blindly for these things. But it's not really so blindly because part of the Torah we do understand. And it makes a lot of sense. So once we have part of the Torah that we do understand, then we have faith in Hashem that everything is for our good, obviously. Mm-hmm. Now we accepted the Torah at Mount Sinai, and we know it's all coming from Hashem. Now, why is it that the red heifer specifically purifies from death? So let's see, how did death come into the world, first of all? Why do people die?
Cain killed Abel.
Even before that. People died when Adam Harishon decided to eat from the Eitz Hadas. He decided to eat from the tree of knowledge.
He blamed that on Eve.
He did. Do you have a seat? Good.
How you doing? Long time no see.
So, let's see what caused us. And when we were just mentioning that we were just mentioning that the para aduma, the red heifer, purifies from death, and death came into the world when Adam and Eve sinned by eating from the tree of knowledge. So let's see what caused that sin. What caused the sin of death to come into what caused death to come into the world? What was the nature of that sin? What prompted them to sin? Because had Adam and Eve not sinned, we never would have died. We would have lived forever. The days of Mashiach and Olam Haba would have been here right away. There wouldn't have been all the tragedies that happened in the world. The Holocaust, what's happening now in Israel, none of that would have happened. Also, actually tomorrow is a Parshas Chukas, Friday, is a day that's traditionally commemorated with fasting and praying because it was the day when all the Talmuds were burnt in France in the 1200s or 1300s.
I thought you weren't supposed to fast every Shabbos.
It's a good point. Sometimes we do. Sar B'Tevis we do. Pastrami. Sar B'Tevis, 10th of Tevis we do, and sometimes people do also. People had the custom to fast on the 10th of the Friday of Parshas Chukas, and actually a lot of big rabbis, the Motzes Gedolei HaTorah, came out and said that tomorrow should be a day of prayer, considering what's going on in Israel and everything. So it's an auspicious day. But anyway, so had Adam and Eve not sinned, people would have lived forever. People would have lived forever.
A crowded world.
Yeah, it's unclear how everyone would have been born, how it would have worked. I'm unclear about it. So let's see what caused that sin. What caused them to eat from the tree of knowledge in the first place? So all the way back, Parshas Bereishis, page 14. Let's see.
I can probably say it in one word.
Yeah. What do you want to say?
Temptation.
It was definitely temptation, but what was the temptation? What part? We have Yetzer Hara.
That their eyes would be open and they would be like God.
Which is what?
What the serpent said.
Right, no, which is what? What is it being like God? What sin is that? To be like God, to want to be like God.
Holiness?
Haughtiness, that's it. The Pasuk says, this is back in Gimel, Daled, nope, hey, like Shlomo said, Ki yodei Elokim, ki biyom achalchem imenu, v'nifkechu einechem, v'yisim ki Elokim yodei tevera. Hashem doesn't want you to eat from that because He knows the day that you eat from it, your eyes will be open, and you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. It was haughtiness. They wanted to be, it was too tempting, as you said, a temptation. But temptation doesn't mean that you only want to eat that chocolate piece of cake that you shouldn't be eating, or that pastrami that you know might give you heartburn. That's not the only type of temptation. There's also temptation of haughtiness, to want to be important, more important than everybody else, to be praised for things, everyone to recognize, honored, to be honored, to sit in front of the shul, to be the guy who sits in front and everyone thinks is the big shot. We all have a temptation of that. It's a Yetzer Hara just like any other Yetzer Hara. So our ancestors succumbed to that, and because of that, that brought death into the world. Now, that brought death into the world. Haughtiness, gaiva, ego, all of the above is why people now die, because they did that. Now, why does the para aduma atone for that sin? So part of the para aduma, again, we're not explaining here, this is not a class to tell us all the secret reasons of the para aduma, because, as mentioned, we don't know all the reasons.
Para aduma is the red heifer.
The red heifer, right, the red heifer. But part of the para aduma, when it was burnt, they used an eitz erez ve'ezov. Eitz erez is a cedar tree. Ezov is hyssop. Hyssop is a very lowly bush, very lowly. And the eitz erez, which is a mighty tree, has to bend itself to the lowly hyssop to show that really what a Jew is supposed to be is humble. Is supposed to have humility. Right? You look at the Mesil Yesharim discusses anava. Humility is one of the most important traits that we're supposed to have. Think about it. We're here for a few years, here today, gone tomorrow. Right? Exact opposite of haughtiness. What was Moshe known for? The greatest Jew of all time. What was his sterling character trait? He was the humblest. Humility. He was the humblest person who ever lived. That is the ideal trait for every Jew. Right? If you think about it. Where did we come from? A putrid drop, the Mishnah says. Where are we going? We're going to be eaten by the worms. How could you be haughty? Right?
Of us.
Exactly, right. How could you be haughty? We really think about it. But unfortunately, we all have a Yetzer Hara. We all have a temptation inside of us to want to be important, to want to be praised, to want to be lauded, to want to be rule over others, and that's something that we have to work and fight against our entire lives. Now, that doesn't mean a person should have low self-esteem, chas v'shalom. It means, the way the Mesil Yesharim says, the prohibition of being haughty, is that I feel that I should get special praise for my positive attributes. Right? That's the problem. But we should also feel that no, Hashem did give us a neshama. He blessed us with a very holy soul, and because of that, He gave us a lofty mission. He gave us a lofty mission. The Hasidic Rebbe, he says that you should walk around with 2 pieces of paper in your pockets. In one pocket it should say, I'm dust and ashes, on the upper ve'efer. And in the other pocket it should say, B'shvili niver ha'olam. For me, the world was created. Because on one hand, I should be a very humble person. But on the other hand, Hashem created me. I'm this lofty being who can do so much and impact the spiritual world. But Hashem also did that for everybody else. So, in fact, anger is a problem that people have. I don't know if you're aware of this. Anger comes from pride, from haughtiness. Because we usually get angry when our ego is threatened. When someone gets in the way of my will. So if a person is a very haughty person, then the chances are, he will get more angry than other people. Because really deep down, when someone's ego is threatened, he wants to destroy that thing which is a threat to him. That's where anger comes from. You're threatening who I am, my sense of self, my ego. Person wants to destroy that. Right? Haman wanted to destroy the Jewish people just because one Jew, Mordechai, wouldn't bow to him. In fact, do you know where the Gemara says there's a hint to Haman in the Torah, who was like the epitome of haughtiness and pridefulness. You know where that's from? The Gemara says, where do we know Haman Minotaurus Minayin? Where do we see a hint to Haman in the Torah? Hamin ha'etz hazeh, from the parsha of Adam and Eve eating from the tree of knowledge. That's the hint of Haman from the Torah, because that's where the first sin of haughtiness happened that brought death into the world. Now, just to mention, how is Mashiach going to come? What's going to happen with Mashiach? We said that if they didn't have this sin of haughtiness and the sin of pride, there would have been the days of Mashiach right away, and it would have been Olam Haba. So when Mashiach comes, when is that going to happen? The pasuk says in Yeshayahu, Isaiah 2:11, Einei gafus adam shafal v'sach rum anoshim v'niskav Hashem levado b'yam hahu. Humankind's haughty eyes will be brought down, and men's arrogance will be humbled, and Hashem alone will be exalted on that day. Mashiach will come, and we'll be humble. The people will be humble, because, listen, when we compare ourselves to Hashem, no comparison. We're nothing. We're nothing. You laugh with people, I guess you can, maybe when you think about when you were a kid, what kids used to pride themselves in. Kid who was the best athlete, maybe, when you were 8 years old. Who cares? Now you look back, it was like the most important thing when you're 8. Like, who cares? Okay, you're good at ball in elementary school. Nobody cares. It's so silly. You look back, you laugh at it. Right? Now, as we get older, there's other things that are important to us. But in the end of the day, if we really think about it, it's so silly. You want to have a big house and have a lot of money so everyone thinks you're the best, and you want to run something and be in charge of something so you can boss people around. It's silly. This is a very inspiring Mara in Shabbos. I would like to share. It's a story about Hillel, none other than Hillel and Shammai. This is the Hillel. So I would like to learn the Gemara together and then share an explanation from my Rebbe, Rav Aaron Feldman. Tana Rabbanan, Rabbi's taught, La'olam yehei adam anvasan ki Hillel v'al yehei kaptan ki Shammai. He says, always a person should be as humble as Hillel and shouldn't be strict like Shammai. Ma'aseh b'shnei b'nei adam. There were two people, shehimru zed zed, they made a bet with each other. Amru, they said, Kol mi sheyelech v'yankid as Hillel yitel arba mea zuz. Whoever can go and get Hillel angry will get 400 zuz. That was their bet. Okay? Now, 400 zuz was a lot of money. I don't know the conversion rate from zuz to dollars or to euros, but right. And Chad Gadya, a baby goat costs 2 zuz. I know a baby goat now is a few $100, so I don't know. The economies are probably, you know how much 400 zuz is?
So 200 zuz is like it supports one person for a whole year.
200 zuz supports. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, 200 zuz supports someone for a whole year. So this is 400 zuz. So he says maybe 100. So let's say it's $200,000 they were making a wager on. Okay. Amr echad mehem. One of them said, Ani akni tanu. I will go and get Hillel angry. Otza hayom, that day, Erev Shabbos. It was Erev Shabbos. The Hillel chafaf ez rosho. Hillel was in the bath and he was washing his hair. Halach v'avra pesach beso. This fellow went in front of Hillel's house. Amar, he yelled out at his house, Mikan Hillel. Who here is Hillel? Mikan Hillel. Who here is Hillel? This atef v'yatzu likroso. Hillel got dressed and went outside to greet him. Amar lo, he said to him, Bini, my son, ma'ata mavakesh. What can I do for you? Amar lo, the man said, She'ela yesh li l'shol. I have a question to ask you, Hillel. Amar lo, he said to him, Shal Bini, my son, ask. Shal, he asked, If they roshem shal bavliim sagagos, how come the heads of the Babylonians are oval-shaped? That was his question. Amar lo, Hillel responded, Bini, my son, she'ela gedola shalta. You ask a very good question. Mipnei she'ein lahem chayos pikchos. They don't have good midwives. Continues the story. Halach v'himtim sha'achas. This man took a walk. He waited for an hour. Chazav Amar, he went back to Hillel's house. Mikan Hillel. Who here is called Hillel? Mikan Hillel. Who here is called Hillel? This atev v'yatzu l'kroso. Hillel got dressed and he went out to greet him. Amar lo, he said to him, Bini, my son, ma'ata mavakesh. What would you like? Amar lo, he said to him, She'ela yesh l'ishal. I have a question for you. Amar lo, he said to him, Sha'al b'ni, ask. Sha'al. Mipnei my name shall Talmudim trutos. Why are the eyes of the Talmudians weak? Amar lo, he said to him, Bini, Sheila Gadol Shalti, you ask a very good question. Because they live where there's a lot of sand. Continues, Halach, he waited another hour. Chazav Amar, he came back and he said, Mikan Hillel, who here is Hillel? Mikan Hillel, who here is Hillel? The girls of Hillel got dressed and went outside. Amar lo, he said to him, Bini, ma'atam mevakish. My son, what can I do for you? How can I help you? Amar lo, he said to him, She'ela yesh l'shal, I have a question. Amar lo, he said to him, Sha'al b'ni, Sha'al, ask. How come the Africans have wide feet? Amar lo, Hillel said to him, B'ni, She'ela gedola sha'al, you ask a very good question, B'nei shedarn, ben bitzei hamayim, because they live in a swampy area. Okay. Amar lo, he said to him, She'ela's harbe yeshishol, he says, Hillel, I have a lot of questions to ask you. I'm worried, maybe you'll get angry. He sat down in front of him. Amar lo, he said to him, any question you have, you could ask me. Amar lo, he said to him, are you the Hillel that they call the leader of Israel, leader of the Jewish people? Amar lo, he says, yes. Amar lo, he said to him, if you're him, lo yirba kamoscha b'Yisrael, there should be no more like you in the Jewish people. Amar lo, Hillel responded, B'ni mipnei ma, my son, why not? Amar lo, he said to him, Mipnei she'ibadati al yadcha arba me'ah zuz, because you caused me to lose 400 zuz. Amar lo, Hillel responded, Havei zahir b'ruchacha kadehu, you should be careful with yourself. It's kadaihu Hillel sheta'abed al yado arba me'ah zuz v'arba me'ah zuz v'Hillel yakid. It's worth it that Hillel will cause you to lose 400 zuz and another 400 zuz, and that Hillel should not become angry. And that's the end of the story. So, let's discuss here. What was this guy's tactics to get Hillel upset? So, first of all, this is a story about
become wealthy and that's the body.
Right, that was his goal. But how? What was his plan? How was he planning to get Hillel angry? So the first thing
a lot of ridiculous questions.
Right, so that's one thing. That's one thing he did. He asked a lot of ridiculous questions. We're talking here about the Gadol Hador. We're talking about Hillel. Right? Imagine you get a meeting with the president, right? And you come in and ask a leader, a big leader.
Or any president.
Right? You go in, let's say, right here in Lakewood, you go into Malkiel Cutler, and you get a meeting with him, and you say, Rabbi, why are the feet of the Africans wide? You're asking ridiculous questions. Right? A person who's not humble, you think, you know who I am? I'm the leader of the Jewish people. You're wasting my time with these ridiculous questions.
You're asking Torah questions.
All right. Anything. Well, first of all,
garbage like that.
The first thing he did, remember the first thing he said? He said, Mikan Hillel, who here is Hillel? What he was trying to do to get him angry was to injure his pride. Hillel was famous. Everybody knew who Hillel was. Right? You ever see a celebrity and when they have these videos where sometimes somebody doesn't know who a celebrity is and they freak out? You know, like, do you know who I am? You don't know who I am? Like, they have these, I don't want to say the name, but there was a certain celebrity who got pulled over a few years ago, and she was freaking out because the cop didn't care who she was and was giving her a ticket. Okay, you said it.
Is she Jewish?
No. Sweet Home Alabama.
One of those, our parents came over on her
Mayflower.
Great ancestors came over on the Mayflower.
Of course,
that's her.
But he also called him during the shower, so he had to get out.
Oh, very good. So the first thing he did was said, Mikan Hillel. He was trying to injure his pride. Because you get someone angry when you injure their pride. Someone who's prideful and really cares about his ego, and that's all they are, right? You're a famous actress, and you say, who are you? That causes people to get angry. Except Hillel was exceedingly humble. He could care less. I'm the leader of the Jewish people. That's not what's important to me. Who cares? I mean, it's important to him in the sense that he inspires other Jews, but that he has this amazing title, who cares? And then like Menashe said, people tend to get angry when they're very busy. Erev Shabbos is a very busy time. He's getting ready for Shabbos. Not only that, he bothered him when he was in the shower. He had to wash his hair and come out. Maybe it was very cold. So he got him at a very busy time. He got him when he was going to be uncomfortable. He injured his pride. And like you said, he was asking him ridiculous questions. Now, after the third, also, Hillel, he could have been had some righteous anger because he was in the middle of doing a mitzvah. He was preparing for Shabbos. And sometimes we think when we're doing something that's very important, especially a mitzvah, if someone bothers us, we get super angry. Like, you know what I'm doing right now? Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to interrupt me? I'm volunteering at the shul right now. Like, get out of here. Like, you can't be bothering me with this ridiculousness. Like, who do you think you are? So now, and at the end, after he tried 3 times with these ridiculous questions, he finally said to Hillel, he tried to build up his ego. He tried to say, are you Hillel, the leader of the Jewish people? And he said, yes. So he was trying to get him to have a bigger ego. And then what does he say to him? He insults him directly. He says, well, there should be no more like you in the Jewish people. So after all of those things failed, he insulted him directly, and even that didn't work. And the reason it didn't work is because what causes us to get angry is our ego, is pride, is gaiva, very, very serious avera. And Hillel was exceedingly humble, the most humblest people that ever lived. So he did not get angry. Okay. What time is it? 8:15 tonight, right?
8:15, yes. I have
Okay.
to be over the sushi home.
Okay, so let me just share one more thing. You can feel free to.
What time is it?
Yeah, 8:15, same as here.
I gotta go. Mine, sorry.
Are you going to Shiva Minyan?
There should be enough people for 2 minutes.
Okay, so let's stop now. You have to go.
I just don't have the dress yet. My wife was supposed to send me the dress. I have to check my phone, which I left in the car.
Oh, okay.
Are you going to sign? I can get you.